pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Good evening. The first order of business is showcase, and we have Timothy Carbon in the audience, so I'm going to ask him to come to the podium. He's an Eagle Scout, and he has a final requirement due, so I think you just spend a few minutes and tell us about it. We're glad he's here tonight, so hello, Timothy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for having me. I'm Timothy Carbon. I'm a Boy Scout from Troop 44 Matunic. I need this for my communications badge, and yeah, thank you all for having me.
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
The next on the showcase is a letter from Mid-Atlantic Fisheries Management Council, and we have a guest here tonight, Richard Fuca. If you want to come up to the podium, and you sent the council a communication, and I'd just like you to summarize what that communication was to the council so the public can hear it.
Thank you, Madam President, fellow council members. I've been here before in the past as the president of Rhode Island Fishermen's Alliance, and quite frankly, on the way down from my hometown, East Greenwich, now, I've been a long-time resident of Narragansett, some 30-some-odd years. I was thinking back on the short ride down. This council has always over the years stepped up to the plate for Point Judith and its fishing industry. Never, ever faltering, always supporting it 100%. This letter of endorsement that the council signed on to, that was written by industry, was written by a fisheries liaison by the name of Megan Lapp. She works for Seafreeze and Seafreeze Shoreside. They have a facility in Point Judith, was once known as the Fishermen's Co-op, and they have a facility up in Davidsville as well. That letter was written directly to the point. There are groups, working groups on Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard that are basically opposing our squid fishery in and around the islands, and an unsupported, when I say unsupported by science, move to restrict that fishing in and around those areas. They somehow, through political efforts, got their buffer zone initiative heard. It started with the New England Council. New England Council does not hear our species of squid that we harvest. We harvest 2 species of squid. One of them is the most famous that everybody knows about, the calamari or the lalago, which would be the longfin squid. And we also harvest a summer squid, or better known as shortfin squid, summer squid, in and around these areas in the springtime. And quite frankly, probably a little more than 1/3 of our landings come from these areas they want to restrict us from. So, you know, always at the 11th and 3/4 hours, these things pop up. Last-minute political efforts to push back on the commercial fishing industry. The first chance I got, I ran to the town council and the Narragansett Chamber. Narragansett Chamber is extremely active, as you know, with the Calamari Festival, along with the town. That's something to be extremely proud of. It's a big deal in the state. You know, again, Narragansett Town Council rose to the occasion and acted quickly and decisively to help protect its fishing industry, as it usually does.
Great.
As far back as I can remember.
So, Richard, we had a special meeting on Friday, December
There
1st,
will
and there were...
be, yeah, not to interrupt, but there have been preliminary meetings, but next week will be the Mid-Atlantic Council, today being Wednesday. A week from today, there'll be Mid-Atlantic Council meetings where there's actually going to be a couple of busloads of fishing organizations going down to testify as well. When I came in, I just got an update from some our Mid-Atlantic Council reps in Rhode Island, saying that as the council or council members, Mid-Atlantic Council members, collect letters of either pro or cons, there has been an overwhelming support to push back on the buffer zones, and the first letters that were recognized was the town of Narragansett and the Chamber of Commerce. Rhode Island DEM will be there to testify, and our delegation is well aware of the situation, and they're taking their measures from Washington as well.
So thank you. What I wanted to say was, we had a special meeting on Friday. We had 3 of the council members. We have a full council tonight.
That's
And I
correct.
didn't know if you wanted to get support from the other 2 members or get signature, because there were only 3 people that signed to show full support.
Madam President, that was, again, that was a glorified move. It was done very quickly, and believe me, the industry appreciates those efforts. Again, stepping up to the plate very quickly and acting is a big deal.
So we'll offer that to the council, full council tonight, if they want to put their signature on the letter. Matt Mannix and Mike Moretti as well, so you'll have the full council support on that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. So you can sign it. You want to use this one? So the next showcase is the energy savings, and I'm going to defer to the town manager because he's going to share a highlight or showcase.
Thank you, Madam President. One of the areas, the town council president has asked that every town council meeting, we showcase some of the positive things that go on in the town of Narragansett. Some are very, some you see very in the newspaper and you hear about a lot about, but some things you see that you don't see behind the scenes is this initiative right here. And I think it's very worthwhile to explain it. So this is an energy initiative for 2017, and it's really spearheaded by Jeff Cesarine, who's the town engineer, as everyone knows. He's been here almost 30 years. So I'll keep this brief, but just to give you an idea of the savings that he works on every day to keep the cost low in this town. First is heating oil. So we're about 40 cents less per gallon than we should be paying on the spot market price. When you're burning thousands of gallons, that's a lot of money. Number 2 is natural gas. We participated in the state's natural gas for direct energy for a 3-year period. We locked the price in 37% reduction in the gas commodity price over the market rate. 3, propane. The price of propane was approximately $3.69 per gallon. He managed to get it for $1.69 a gallon. He saved $2.50 on each gallon. Jeff is the type of guy I'd like to have negotiate when I buy a new vehicle, a new car. I'd like him to go with me. These are the big ones. These are the ones you'll really appreciate. Number 4 is the LED lighting. So there are 572 ceiling-mounted lighting fixtures in the town that need to be replaced. They're being replaced with real cost-efficient and energy-efficient LED lighting. There were rebates involved. Jeff managed to get the rebates waived, and we're getting the 572 new LED lights free, and we just have to pay the Audette electricians to install them. That'll save, in 1 year, the payback period on the installation cost will be in 1 year. After that, it's like having free lights. Wow. Another big one, street lighting. There are 1,500 street lights in the town of Narragansett. We entered into a partnership with South Kingston and North Kingston for RFPs on to purchase streetlights from National Grid. The purchase of the actual streetlight is pretty low. It's only about $15,000, but the cost to put them in is actually pretty high. We're putting it out to bid. We're expecting in the mid $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 range to come in to replace them. This will save, the payback period is approximately 5 years. The average electrical usage for the town is approximately $10,000 to $12,000 per month. We'll be saving a great portion of that. The big thing is we had an $85,000 a year contract with National Grid to repair these lights. Jeff did some research and found that only about a dozen lights per year were being repaired. So for $85,000, we were repairing, a dozen street bulbs, which, we got that waived. Now that fee's pretty much gone. We can just pay as you go to repair those lights. Solar power. We entered a consortium with South Kingston and URI. We have 3 areas that are solar power sites: Rose Hill, Plains Road, and a private area in West Greenwich. The first two are Superfund sites that were previously landfills. Those three projects, by the end of 2018, will be generating enough power to meet all the municipal demand for South Kingston and Narragansett, and 70% of the URI's total demand. We'll save approximately $1.6 million over 25 years just on that solar project. So although it's not something that you see, it's not a real sexy topic, but it's substantial savings to this town, and that's just one area of one employee, day in and day out, trying to do the right thing by the town.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is open forum. If you'd like to come to the podium, please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council. Richard?
My name is Richard Vangermersh, and I live on, let's say, 55 Osceola today. I was encouraged last meeting when we talked about the management plan, if you will, on bad weather. And and again, I don't know how formalized this is, but I would have a suggestion. I think it would be a good idea for the council to put this as an ordinance and perhaps create a weather emergency committee, and so that what good things happen once will happen all the time. That committee could be the police chief, town manager, fire chief, head of the council, and they could get, anyone could call a meeting if there's a crisis, and then this wouldn't be just happenstance. It would be as per what every emergency would call for, and it would be routinized rather than perhaps what it was last time, ad hoc. In other words, making the ad hoc procedure a more formal one.
Thank you.
I just want to add to that. I think that what we're seeing is the efforts of Jim's leadership with the police chief, and I think there is a system in place. I know there is, Richard, so it's not ad hoc. Do you want to comment more on that, Jim?
So, Professor, I understand what you're saying, but this town has some true emergency management professionals. You have Chief Corrigan, Chief Partington, and I had 31 years in emergency management. So, and you have Mike DeChico, and you have the engineer. We have a good plan, and the beauty of our plan is there's really no red tape involved. We make a decision and we make a move on it, and it's done very efficiently. I think if we had people that didn't have all the experience that they have, we could have a more formalized committee, but I'm pretty satisfied with the way we handle things right now. And we can reevaluate it in a year and see where it's at, but right now I think we have a pretty good thing going.
Thank you.
The advantage of having a form just means that people who may not have that experience would have to meet that.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Okay, somebody else for open forum? Stanley?
Stan Wojciechowski, Narragansett. In the past, I worked for 3 large corporations, and I'm not a smart guy, so they had to teach me. One of the most important things was you get 3 quotes, pay attention to the cost, and then every time you consider a proposal, cost was up there on top all the time as a priority in every discussion. And I've been coming to meetings for the last 30 years, I guess, and sometimes I don't feel like cost is a high enough priority. And ad hoc committees. We had a ad hoc committee on student problems. They come up with a list. The list costs us $200,000 a year. didn't solve the problem really. Finally, police action seemed to solve the problem. So we're blowing $200,000 a year, maybe, somewhere there, I heard a few meetings ago. Then I hear we got a library that, again, the committee says we need to spend $2.4 million when we have a lot for free somewhere, probably, you know. Again, the cost is taking a back seat to some other priorities which may not be that important, really. I don't know if we need a library within walking distance of the beach. However, on a positive note, Mary received a check from the town, and it was like $43 check from the town, and it was
$44, Stanley.
that goes to show you, Mary's the boss.
44.
$44.
Don't cheat me,
Was there some
Stanley.
sense in it? $44. And what really surprised me was that it was signed by the town manager. He is paying attention to a $44 expenditure. He's watching these expenditures. It's unbelievable that he is on top of this. A truly financial expert from my position, and I really want to commend him for that action, number one, and I want to nominate him as Town Manager of the Year when that comes up. Thank you very much.
All right, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley.
Next year, we'll give you $144, Stanley. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak at open forum? Mr. Winter?
David Winter, Boone Street. I would just like to say what a great idea I thought the warming tent was at the Festival of Lights. We talked about, you know, it's a family event, but part of families are adults. And to enjoy some sort of a little bit more adult sensibilities in a well-managed and well-mannered place was a great time. The children were running around having a good time. And although it wasn't that cold out, it did feel comfortable to sit in there. So it's got my vote for a regular part of the Festival of Lights in the future. Thank you.
So thank you, and I forgot to mention how fabulous that event was last night, so thank you for reminding me. Steve Wright, the Park and Rec Director, and his entire staff did a phenomenal job. I think the families in the community really came out and enjoyed themselves, and again, the warming tent was part of that activity. We had a wonderful night, so I want to thank Steve, and I think everybody on the council.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve, was really spectacular, so thank you. Thank you. Meg? Huh? Okay.
Good evening. On behalf of the Towers Committee and the Friends of the Towers, I just wanted to come here tonight to invite everyone to come out and attend tomorrow night's performance by the South Kingstown Community String Orchestra. They will be performing the works of Mozart, Beethoven, Rossini, and Grieg under the direction of Dr. Brian Cardinay. And it's a special night to us at the Towers because they're dedicating their evening to the life and the work and the memory of our beloved Kate Vivian. And this concert is free of charge, open to all, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I hope many of you can join us.
Oh, thank you so much. That sounds lovely. Anybody else wishing to speak at open forum? Okay. Moving on the agenda, we have the consent agenda. Is there any council member that would like to pull any item on the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull number 5.
Okay, pulling 5. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda absent of 5?
So move. Second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda with the
Aye.
absence of 5?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Motion 5, a motion to approve a 1-year contract extension for building renovations, restoration, and reconstruction services for use of all departments with Abcor Restoration Company, Inc., at their quoted and adjusted bid prices. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Discussion, Mike?
So I guess Susan's not here, right? So I can ask you this question. So I'm only confused by the dates. So the original award was March 7th. That's a year contract to March 7th, 2017, and you're asking for an extension 9 months after the expiration?
I can't specifically answer. I think that's correct in what you're saying, but it's a 1-year extension to what we already have.
Yeah, so I'm confused by how, so he operated without a contract from March to December? And if that's the case, so did it not go back out to bid, or I'm confused by the whole thing?
I'll have to look at that. I'm not sure of that answer. The bid openings here, it says Wednesday, February 10th at 11 a.m.
Right, so council awarded the original bid on March 7th, 2016,
Yes,
for a year.
right.
So that means it expired March 7th, 2017, which was 9 months ago. And now you're asking for an extension in December. So I don't know if there's a mistake or if Abcor has been operating for 9 months without a contract.
Well, I think this contract here is March 7th, 2017 to March 6th, 2018.
So it's March to March.
Am I making a mistake? Am I reading this wrong? Or
No,
is it?
I think we should probably hold off on this and get that information, if
Yeah, I
March
don't-
to March, right?
Yeah, I know it's a one-year extension. I just don't know if those dates are correct.
Is there any urgency? Because we need that information, so
Oh,
can
it's
we
no-
just pull this?
Obviously no
Yeah.
urgency if he's been working for 9 months without a contract. so.
So we're gonna hold on that. Is everybody in agreement until we have more information? Good catch. I mean, all right, Jim, you'll
Yes,
get that?
I'll get you the answer.
It may be a typo, I'm not sure, but it appears to me, based on the backup, that the original contract was awarded. I'm looking at the schedule from February 10th, 2016, et cetera, and I'm looking at the letter dated October 31st for the period ending March 7th, 2017. So I'm confused why he would be operating that long without a contract.
Yeah,
All right.
the dates don't line up. I'll have to get you an answer on that.
All right, so we're gonna
Yes.
hold on that. We're gonna move on to new business. Motion to, number 12, a motion to approve the agreement with the Laborers International Union of North America, Local Union 1033. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Discussion. I'm going to defer to the manager. Can you just give us an update on 1033?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So this was 6 months in the making, this contract with Laborers International Union of North America, Local Union 1033. It's a middle management union. The town of Narragansett has approximately 18 employees in that union in town. Once again, they represent the middle managers. At the direction of the town council, and we listened to the finance committee, we've taken your direction, and one of the priorities of this council was to reduce the OPEB liability, which you estimated at $60 million, for the long-term sustainment of this town. So every time, this is the second contract we've negotiated with that priority in mind, and this does represent true OPEB reform, this contract with 1033, as did with Council 94. It's a win-win for the town, and it's a win-win for the employees. This contract will save this town approximately $2.2 million in its OPEB liability over a 30-year period, which means that we could lower the amount that we pay as we go. It has long-term effects. If you add that up to the $6.2, $6.4 million that we save at Council 94, we're really making headway on this OPEB issue that we have. And the ultimate goal is to have everyone at some point in time in this town with these changes that we've made to this contract, and I'll go over those very briefly, which will substantially reduce the OPEB liability in this town. Each decision that was made in this contract was backed up, has an impact, whether it's a percentage we gave to certain employees or whether it was longevity was involved. And with that impact, we went to NIHAR and we paid to have our actuary review it, determine the impact, and then bring it before the council, and then make a decision on where we were going with these offers. These numbers we came up with were not just picked at random. They were carefully studied by not only the finance director, but by the council, and each step of the way, I was given parameters by this council to make a move on this contract. And basically what it does is, it gives the 18 members of 1033 substantial raises. You'll see that July 1st, 2017, 2.5%. July 1st, 2018, 3%. July 1st, 2019, 3.5%. They are now on a longevity table which is equal to the rest of the town employees, which they didn't have before this. So before, I can see Stanley's got his mind's moving. Those are nice raises, but we had to make these raises because what this union gave up is for the long-term health of this town. They gave up substantial benefits. They gave up spousal benefits upon retirement for the employees. They keep their benefits to a point, but they gave up the spousal benefits post-retirement. That's a big one. They gave up health care for life, which post-65, they will go on Medicare, which the rest of the population does, and they gave up their own health care plan post-65 age. They gave up Medicare Part B. They gave up prescriptions. They gave up a lot of things. The representative from the union up in Providence made a statement to me that he's never seen a union that so graciously gave up benefits such as this. But that comes at a cost. You have to be fair and make them whole so that when they retire, they can subsist and pay these benefits that we took, that the town has conceded that we got back, that they can pay. Now, I will tell you this, the negotiation team was Dan Holland, who's sitting at the table, Susan Gallagher, Joe Amator, Ron Coyer from the 1033 union up in Providence, and Steve Smith. They were tough negotiators, but they were respectful, and they understood the priorities of the council. The negotiators on our team representing the town was me, Laura Kenyon, Councilman Mannix, Patty O'Neill, or now we call him Judge O'Neill, and Susan Healy. This was a very, very tough contract to negotiate. Like I said, it took 6 months to do. I think if you look at the agenda item, you could see the very specifics of it. But I want to commend the 18 members of 1033 for making this reform possible for the town of Narragansett. They're valued employees of this town. They understand to make this town thrive for the future, 10, 20, 30, 50 years out. These changes need to be made right now, and they did it, and I commend them for that. So I would highly recommend that the council take a look at this contract. I know you have, and we've gone over it line by line. I appreciate the time and effort you've taken on it, and I would highly recommend that you sign this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody from the council?
I just quickly want to commend everybody that was involved. This is a big deal. I mean, just a year ago, there was so much commentary about OPEB and liability, and I think you've done a stellar job, Matt, stellar job. Anybody that's involved in union negotiations, it's always very difficult, but you've brought the town in 12 months into 2017. So I truly appreciate that as a taxpayer and a council member.
All those in favor?
Thank you, Dan, and to the 1033
Thank you. All
for your
those
work.
in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, motion passes. 13, a motion to adopt an ordinance and amendment, of Chapter 70, of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett entitled Taxation and Finance. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Okay, from the public? It is the second reading.
Mike?
Second
Just
reading.
wanted to, I just wanted to kind of summarize a little bit what I see here is, I heard a former councilman of years ago testify that there were appraisal issues. There were appraisal issues. Is that a problem? Yeah. You want to go on?
No, you go ahead, go ahead.
There were appraisal issues with businesses, and as a result of the appraisal issues, they pursued a multiple tax issue. As you heard many times, I see that very much against equality and fairness in American way here in town, and I've said it many times, so I won't repeat that. However, we did have somebody testified why they did it, and it was, to me, I look back and say, they made a mistake. They shouldn't have gone to two tax or whatever system. They should have just fixed the appraisal system at that time. They didn't do their job. Now, of course, I have to commend you. You're on a track to fix the appraisal system. So since you fixed the appraisal system, you no longer need the multiple taxes. It's chaos. It's wrong. So many people don't need to do it. Why do we have to do it? And it makes it appear that certain people get a break, and that's not the American way. Certain people don't get a break. Certain people don't pay more. We have to maintain equality in our mind at all times on everything we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? All those in favor of the...
Whoa, I got something to say.
Okay.
All right, I put together a little PowerPoint, just a couple pages, just to explain the 125% and what the benefits are. So, commercial taxes and the town of Narragansett. Now, for starters, again, in Washington County, we are the only town who have a two-tier tax system. It was changed in 2003, where 12% of our revenue was coming from commercial property. Today, it's 8% we receive our revenue from commercial property. So the two-tier tax hasn't been working. It's a failure. We're getting less revenue from the properties that are designated commercial. Okay, now, here's an example of a commercial sale and a residential sale that took place this year, and One Angel Road was assessed at $1.1 million, and it sold. It was on the market for a few years, and it finally sold for $830,000. Many of the commercial properties that do sell for below their assessments. All of the property, residential property, sells above its assessment. For an example, a similar price property was assessed at 607 in Breakwater Village, and this was a postage stamp lot, not on the water, across the street from the water, sold in October for $800,000. So this is the misnomer about how, you know, we're assessing property here. We should be assessing on use. We should be assessing on assessment only and not use. So if you zip over to the next screen, Mike. Okay, now there's also been some misinformation about where we stand as our commercial rate. So as you can see, North Kingston is certainly higher, and they got a single tier. Newport, they got a two-tier. Of course, they're not in Washington County. That's Newport County, and they're at 15. Narragansett comes in number 3 highest with the coastal towns that we compete against. Okay. And keep in mind, we don't have the demographics. We're a long, slender piece of land, and you draw a circle in the pier, and a lot of our demographics is in the ocean, okay? And again, fish do not buy goods and services. Okay, so we're at 1584 this year. And South Kingston, for the first time that I recollect, we're higher than South Kingston this year. So we're not competing with South Kingston like we should. Westerly, their commercial rate is $11.59. Charleston to the south, $9.59. And Jamestown, $8.66. So we are not competing like we should. Next. Okay. So 150% over the residential rate. That's what commercial properties are paying. So residential are paying $10.56, commercial's paying $15.84. The 125% over residential, which was the grand compromise from the single tax rate that was repealed by this council, would drop the commercial rate down to $13.44, and it would raise the residential rate by 20 cents to $10.76. And the difference for commercial did have a drop of $2.64. And the reason why is because there's so many few properties that are commercial. But this would be a major boost to many properties who are struggling, especially when this summer I've had many complaints from businesses Every Saturday, just about every Saturday was cloudy. We didn't have the crowds come in. We didn't have the tourists come in. People weren't eating out in restaurants. So, this would be a shot in the arm for our local businesses and families. And keep in mind, many of these businesses support the schools, support the sports programs, Little League, soccer, flag football. Next. Okay. Here's a interesting property I was keeping an eye on. Back in 2015, this guy lost a couple contracts. He had this house. He had this commercial building in the north end on Dean Canals there, and it was assessed at $873. So he was paying $12,000, a little over $12,000 a year in taxes. All right. Today's assessment is at $661. It's currently a foreclosed property with Washington Trust, and it's listed at $435. They just had a slight price reduction, but that's been on the market, I guess, for about 8 months now. So, the thing is, I don't think this town is doing enough for commercial property. I think there's a lot more room. We just had a meeting with the school. They want to retain students. They want to bring in new students. Well, maybe if we gave businesses a break and we could provide some jobs, we'd get more students to fill the schools. I mean, whether you like it or not, these commercial entities are part of the community, and they need our help. I don't think there's another screen, right? That was it, right? Oh, yeah, okay, all right. Here's some of the, so I just put this together this afternoon. Here's other properties that would benefit. You got the Beechwood apartments, which have many elderly people who are on fixed incomes. These are federally, this is federal housing that are under HUD guidelines. If we gave that property management company a major tax reduction, they'd be hard-pressed to go to HUD and ask for higher rents for many of those people. Well, all those people in this facility are elderly. Many are on fixed incomes, and would kind of stabilize the rental market for local families. And to the right is the Driftwood Apartments. Again, another subsidized house facility. They'd be hard-pressed to get a rental increase if we lower the taxes on these buildings. So, everybody says, we're helping out the Dunes Club and Evil Stop and Shop and Evil Point Judith Country Club. Okay, they're evil. We all know they're evil, all right? I don't think they're evil, but they also provide jobs. But these are the people that you don't hear about. I go every election, I go banging on every door, because it's tough to get in, but I go banging on every door and talk to these people. And they need help. And they need jobs. If we help commercial businesses, we'll have more jobs. It's that simple. It's economics. It's very simple. So
Thank
that's all
you,
I got to say.
Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Aye.
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 5-0, motion passes. Number, let's see, I'm sorry. Number 14, a motion to adopt an ordinance and amendment, Chapter 46 of the Code of Ordinances, the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Miscellaneous Offenses, Penalties for Violations. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Chief, can you just come on up, because this is the first reading on these penalties, or second reading, it's the second reading. Can you just come on up and run through them, man? I just want to make sure everybody in the public hears all the... Sorry, I thought it was the first, my mistake. For the violations, are those all the same?
This is when we talked about last time, where
Yeah.
we're cleaning it up. The change was made a while back where only the schedule of fines was changed to make first offense and subsequent offenses a flat $500. But the ordinance itself was not changed. It still said first offense was $300, then $400, then $500. So we're changing the ordinance to be consistent with the schedule.
Okay, thank you for the reminder.
Okay.
Any questions? Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. 15, a motion to adopt an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 74, the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Traffic and Vehicles, Article 5, specific street regulations, no through trucking. This is a second reading by the chief. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have to say, this is probably one of the motions that people have thanked me most about around town. This is something that was really, I know that Jim used some of his connections in DOT to really, along with the chief, to work this forward, and everyone's saying thank you. So I say thank you to the chief and to the town manager.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. 16, a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 74 of the Code of Ordinances in the town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Traffic and Vehicles Fire Hydrant Violation Fee Increase. And this was put on by Mr. Moretti. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion.
Quite simply, I find, I mean, there are many violations that I see of people parking in front of fire hydrants. I think it's just as important if you know, to not park in front of a fire hydrant as to not park in a handicap space. And the fact that I saw that the fee was, or the fine was $35 was a bit confusing and amazing to me. So I think the state maximum, if I'm not mistaken, is $85 for a fire hydrant violation. So I think it should be the state maximum, and I think we should enforce towing. I think there's large numbers of people parked on Ocean Road and other neighborhoods, and parking in front of fire hydrant to me is an absolute no-no. So
He's been very passionate about this. I just had a question for the chief, if you don't mind coming back up. I'm going to support this because I know the fire hydrant penalty has been important to Mr. Moretti, and he thinks, I just was wondering, is it a big issue with the new lines? Like, is that be less of an issue now because it's lined?
It's become less of an issue on Ocean Road since they did the new striping. They cleared it up. Beginning of the season, we towed some cars and wrote some tickets. After they did the striping, we weren't seeing the violations in that particular area.
So you took care of it already?
Yeah, I was thinking the lines took
it's
care
okay.
of
The
it.
fine,
So.
the $85 is, I think, still a bargain. So
Maybe we should charge them for not parking in the lines.
maybe we
Should we
ask-
look at all of them, though? Like,
Yeah, and actually, Matt, you know,
Instead of-
I pulled it, and I was actually surprised. I was kind of surprised to see it on. I think I was hoping to, I wanted it on, and then I kind of said, yeah, I know, I kept going back and forth, but I think we should look at all of them, but
But I thought you were looking at all of them. Was that something that you were doing, looking at the fines?
I supplied them to you. I mean, we've been using that for quite a while. It's consistent with what I see around the state. Most communities, it's actually less. So.
yeah,
now-
Sean and Jim, if like, because I'd like to know which ones are the biggest violations of all of these.
True.
Like that's the behavior you need to deter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we've got, you know, double parking within a fire lane, you know, the hydrant.
Parking
So
in
I
prohibited
think we
areas
may
we
want to
avoid the most.
continue it and have them come back with recommendations for,
that's fine.
15?
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
sense of urgency. I mean, I think it's important that we all talk about it out loud in the public, because I really
I can't
do
believe
think,
we're going to not vote on this.
No, it's
tonight.
okay. It's okay. I wasn't really anticipating voting on it until I saw it in the packet. So I think we should definitely review it, and I think I'm fine with reviewing all of them and seeing what the worst offenders are and then adjusting from that point. That's absolutely fine with me.
Okay, so then we'll have a motion to,
Madam President, may I say something on that?
Yes.
So when Councilman Moretti brought this to my attention about a year ago, this was an issue, it was a major issue. People were gladly, when the beach parking lots were full, they'd gladly spend the $35 to park in a fire lane and move on from there. That's when, you know, awareness was brought that these fines are pretty outdated. They're very low. People were weighing the option of paying $35 for parking in places they shouldn't, and rather than not going to the beach. That's how it came up. So I think I think that it is warranted that this fire hydrant fine should go up, but I also think a review of these others to see where they stand with state law, to see how those fines compare to these. I don't think it would take much time to do, and then maybe come back with a more comprehensive list and let the council pick and choose which ones they want to move forward on.
okay, thank you.
So I can make a motion to continue, but before I do that, that means it's going to come back, not at a date certain, but at a date, they'll look through the 15.
Yep.
And then
they'll come back
Just
to
prior-
you.
Yep.
They'll come back to you, and then you can put it on, or they can
Just
put it
prior to you printing your books, right? So
Tickets.
on. Yeah, make sure, yeah.
That's right. Okay,
So I'll move to continue this item.
Do I have a second?
I can second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. We'll continue that. We're going to pull 17, and we'll move on to 18. Motion to approve a 3-year extension for the beach portable soft frozen beverage concession for the Park and Rec Department with Dells of South County at the annual quoted payment to the town of $32,600. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second? I'd like to just kind of have Steve come up. I just want to talk about, I know we're obligated to do the 3-year because that was the promise of the contract, but in line with the other contracts in the town, like the food concessionaire that we just did for 135, they all appear to be 5 years. So I was just wondering if there was the ability or the appetite to extend this one to a 5-year.
Good evening. So, yes, by purchasing regulation, I can only bring forward a 3-year extension. So the existing Lemonade contract that we have had a 5-year contract that expired, and this is a 3-year extension. I know that I've talked to Mike Cummings, who's present tonight, would be more than happy to have a 5-year contract. He provides great service to the town of Narragansett at the beach, has a signature product. People love Dells
Dells
Lemonade
and the
on
town
the beach.
beach go together.
He leaves no footprint on our beach. We have a great relationship, so I have absolutely no problem. I know that he would be willing to add 2 years with an increased price of $34,000 if the council was amenable to that. So, but I can't do that. I mean, that's why it's a
Okay.
3-year extension.
So we could extend it to 5 years, and there'd be an increase, you'd pay an increased price as well.
So it's, the extension is 32.6, but for years 4 and 5, it would be 34,000 for 4 and 5. And now, again, that's your.
Can somebody make
I'll
a
move to amend the motion to be extended for 5 years, and for the 4th and 5th year, the incoming amount will be $34,000 each year.
I'll second that. Any discussion from the public? And I just want to say, I know the product is very popular down there at the beach, and I know Mike does a great job, so I think this is excellent for the town. So all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Next motion, 19. A motion to reappoint 2 individuals to the Finance Committee for a 4-year term to expire on December 1st, 2021.
I'll move to reappoint Richard Vangermish.
Do I,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes.
And I move to reappoint Mark Abrams.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Number 20, a motion to schedule a work session with the Land Trust to discuss the updated Middlebridge plan. Do I have a motion?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
In working with the Land Trust Chair and the committee, they suggested the date of December 14th from 5:30 to 7 o'clock. That will be an opportunity for the council to hear the updated plan at Middlebridge, and it will also be an opportunity for the public to hear and if they have any questions on that important piece of property.
That's an off night, right?
It's an off night, yes.
Come on, man. Let's do it next.
That's a Thursday, right? Thursday. Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. And a motion to, 21, a motion to reconsider the increasing number of authorized liquor licenses and direct the town clerk whether to advertise. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, just a quick, no, just go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, so it wasn't clear how, where we are now and what we're increasing, what's the number we're increasing or from, is it in there? Oh, there is no, it's just the blanket, let's just increase
So
it?
this time of year, every year, we have this item come up, because I remember last year we talked about it. I can't believe it's been a year already. Are there people in line waiting for a license? Okay. And at any point in time, should someone come forward, can we then? Okay.
Got it, all right, I'm good.
So yeah, just explain that for the public each year. I think it's a little clunky for people the first time they encounter this. So basically, we have a set number of liquor license, but in order to have the option of expanding them, we essentially have to do this. Do you want to just talk about that?
It's in your council rules for your liquor licenses. So that's where we get that from.
Right, but but we could not increase the number if we don't consider increasing the number and then advertising. I think that's, just so people at home understand it, because this item comes up and I don't think people understand it. So I think it's important. It's not like we're clamoring, there's 3 Joe, Sally, and Mo are ready for their liquor license and they're waiting in the wings. It's a matter of, we wouldn't have the option of increasing if we didn't do this. Is that correct?
No, anytime you could also allow people to apply. That's what it says in your rules. But for the first of the year, we always advertise.
Right, but that's when we're renewing all of them, right?
But there is no set number of Class A, there's no set number of Class B limited, there's no set number of Class B tavern, et cetera, correct?
When you make the motion, in October 16th, you made the motion, that sort of limited it, because
Okay.
you listed all
Yeah,
of them.
I understand. Okay.
So then a specific one will come forward. What will happen is if somebody responds to the advertisement, then we're going to hear from that, then we're going to hear about it, and it's going to come before us in January, February, March.
And you would have the opportunity to still say no or yes.
I hope that helped.
I don't know.
Well, it
Actually,
helps.
It even feels like,
It helps me only because where I spent the last 20-something years, you didn't have the option. It was, you had X number and that was it. You couldn't increase them or decrease them, so.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes, and a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I just want everybody to take note of the time.
Records.
Well, we did have a full agenda the last meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Good night.